My name is Bob Leonard. I've been a physical therapist for 13 years now. I have past background involved in isokinetics. I've spent some time consulting Fortune 500 employers on the importance of understanding what they're getting when they hire a new employee. Physically, what are they inheriting, perhaps from a past injury and so forth. Employers have a lot of interest to understand this because workers' compensation is a big deal in their world. The premiums they pay is based upon, are they keeping their folks safe, not injured, and so forth. If they're inheriting an injury, that's probably not in their interest. So in the past, I've consulted employers to use this type of technology to be able to understand very objectively what are they getting coming in. And more importantly, if an injury does occur, they have a reference point to know what to get that employee back to. I'm currently a physical therapist with Proaxis Therapy, a very progressive outpatient physical therapy company in the country. And we have a very strong mindset to be innovative, use evidence-based mentality with our treatment plans, our treatment approaches and modalities and so forth. And we see Speedflex as a integral part of that, not only from during a treatment plan, but on a post-continuum part as well, kind of a baton pass to for that next step for the patients to progress after they graduate from our treatments. Speedflex is a complement to current physical therapy in the fact that we as physical therapists, we have our hands busy doing manual therapy and so forth with our patients. We're looking for something that can allow the patient to progress to that next step during a treatment. There's a lot of times, if you have a fitness center sitting next to a physical therapy location, it's great as a physical therapist because I know that, hey, look, I've got a baton passed down to perhaps that personal trainer that understands perhaps my needs and so forth if I've taken the time to communicate. Speedflex is essentially that trainer. So you can send that patient over there. We know it's safe. It has isokinetics within it, so you have accommodating resistance, so I don't have to worry about that part of it. Also, from the fast twitch fiber philosophy, we know we're increasing circulation, which is part of the healing process. So it fits so nicely into that whole continuum of healing from the acute to subacute and now to the recovery side as far as progressing that patient. Some of the features about Speedflex that I like as a physical therapist are the fact that the equipment, it provides feedback. So first of all, a patient approaching any sort of new technology can be intimidating. You want to let the patient know that this is safe, which it is. We can easily message the fact that this is accommodating resistance. We have control over which planes of motion and movement they're in, whether it be frontal, sagittal, coronal plane, whatever. We know what we're getting from that equipment. There's not a ton of variability which can predispose them to an injury if they're not doing it right, which is great. And then the other part, it's just innovative. It's nothing that I've seen in the past decade that reminds me of, oh yeah, I've been there, done that. It does have an isokinetic component to it, but the great thing about the minds behind Speedflex, I think they're utilizing a key component that we've been using for 30+ years, isokinetics, but they're putting it into a functional pattern. We're doing closed chain stuff with isokinetics, which along the Gray Cook mentality and where everything's moving nowadays with functional movement screens and so forth, physical therapists love closed chain. That's our thing. Open chain with other vendors of isokinetics and so forth, you can't do that. So they're really combining two great things into one and getting ultimately a great physical therapy product as a result. Ways that we monitor and understand how patients are progressing and so forth, and even identifying underlying injuries that we may not know on the front end. We use Speedflex looking at force curves. If we see a dip in the force curve, we know somewhere along that movement pattern that there is likely a problem. And if it's consistent, each time the force curve has a dip in the same spot, that's the science of isokinetics. We can tell exactly what part of the joint they're experiencing the problem, just based on force output that they're not able to give. So that is one area. So we can identify some things we wouldn't have known otherwise, almost like an EKG in that respect. This is an EKG for the muscle. Secondly, we can track again that progress objectively. And the biggest thing nowadays, whether you're talking insurance reimbursement, or just the whole mindset coming out of schools, physical therapy schools, is again evidence-based. We need to be able to track progress, understand the outcomes, and know, hey, this guy started week 1 here, we now see him here. If you can't show that separation, you can't show that progress, it's probably either time to discharge your patient or just succumb to the fact that you're not going to get reimbursed. That's where the future's going. It's very, very valuable for the patient to be able to see what you're talking about when you talk progress. So it's one thing for me to document, write my notes behind the window while my patient's doing things. This is something that's very in their face. We've seen patients take their reports home with them, use it as a, hey mom, look what I've done lately, and also just as a motivator. They want to see themselves progress like anyone does. But if we're not communicating that, that's a problem. And certainly that's where perceived value comes into play. And suddenly the patient thinks, you know, it's session 7, perhaps I'm good enough. This clearly allows us as physical therapists to upsell ourselves, to show that indeed, Mrs. Jones, you need to stay with us because I have you on the right path and you're not quite finished yet. So it's huge for biofeedback. It's a great builder of perceived value when you need it. Speedflex is in the world of isokinetics has certainly been a breath of fresh air for me. I've seen many vendors the past 15, 20 years. I've worked several different products. And this is one of the first ones, again, that I've seen that incorporates functional movement philosophy, which is nowadays very important, and is leaving somewhat of the old school mentality of, hey, we're a single joint, we're very isolated, we're going to check, again, knee flexion, extension, but what does that mean to the body as a whole? So what I like about it, we can test. We're objectively identifying torque and so forth, but we're also utilizing it as part of our full movement patterns, training them and training the body as a whole like it's designed to be. The body does not work at one joint at a time. It's a synergistic movement pattern amongst all the others and needs to work in harmony. And when that harmony is not there, we can assess and identify that real quick. As a physical therapist, I get judged by the success of my patients not coming back to me. So when my patients are coming back in the door, I don't feel good about it. They perhaps question my original treatment plan, and heck, quite frankly, if I didn't do a good job, they may not be coming back to me. They might be going down the street to the other physical therapist. So I have to be very selective on the baton pass that I make. And physical therapists, we're infamous for being very territorial in the fact that we don't want our patients to go to that next step unless we have a very, very good comfort level with who we're passing this patient on to, because it's my patient. So this is one of the reasons why this, in the whole medical fitness model, this equipment belongs in that medical fitness model. It has that level of safety that we expect with any other modality we're delivering within our treatment plan.